a chance. Telling me to dance, taking a chance.
Wow. Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Happy Saturday.
Y'all just don't even know the trials and tribulations we've been through today. Lori lost power, and she's currently sitting in McDonald's parking lot with Alan. But she's gonna be here. She's gonna be here. So if you have any orders for McDonald's, you let Alan know, and he'll make sure you know. But she'll be here. So everybody, we're so happy you're here today to talk about The Dangerous One, Lori Foster's newest book. We just absolutely adore this book, and we adore Lori too. So I can't wait to get into discussion. And just FYI, we're having a bad windstorm here. That's why Lori lost power, and we're having one here too. I live a couple hours away from Lori, and my window moans if we get high winds. So just FYI, if you hear weird moaning, that's not me, really. It's my window. So welcome.
Really love the book.
So welcome, everybody. We're beaming in live to the Isn't a Romantic Book Club. We're beaming into Abbie's Dangerously Dark Darlings, Jennie's Page Turners. We're in Team Source Books, and we're even on YouTube. So welcome, everybody who's here watching today. In case you don't know, I'm Abbie Roads. I write dangerously dark romance. I tell people think an episode of Criminal Minds meets a love story with a little bit of a tiny paranormal twist. My newest novel is Dangerous Streams. It just came out, I think, a week ago. And Broken Dreams is going to be coming in May.
Oh, I can't see the cover. I didn't see it yet.
Yeah.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
That is really cool.
Yeah. So, and I hate that Amazon puts this big ugly bar on there, but
I do too.
I don't know why they do that. But anyway, that's Broken Dreams. And you're supposed to pretend you didn't see the cover because the cover reveal isn't until next Tuesday. So, oops. All right. So that's me. Who's next?
I'm next. Hi, everyone. My name is Diana Muñoz Stewart. I write romantic suspense for the strong of heart. My novel, Broken Promises, is out now, and my next novel, Hidden Justice, is out on April 18th.
I
so
love
excited to be here.
So excited.
Yeah.
I know.
And you know what? I wanted to tell everybody, if you ever notice that I have all these books around me, these are a lot of my author friends whose books I have read and loved. So, you know, Wedding Crashers by Mia Sosa and, you know, Take the Lead. So if you ever see any books around here and you're looking for a recommendation, these are my recommendations.
Oh my God, I see mine back there.
That's right.
Oh.
Yes.
That's awesome. Okay, me next. Hi, everybody. I'm Jennie Marts, and I write small town stories with humor and heart. I love doing genre mashups. So I love putting romance into my cozy mysteries, like my Pleasant Valley Page Turner series. And I love mashing up my hockey players and my cowboys for my Cowboys of Credence series. So I just have this whole stack of books here. I'm going to just real quick just show everyone because that's what I do. So I write a lot of Western cowboys. I have to show my newest book that just came out the last 2 weeks ago is Every Bit a Cowboy. And I'm so in love with this cover. Oh my gosh, isn't he just so cute?
And I love the book. Love the cover. Love the book.
Chest, that man chest.
That's a great.
I
know.
Mm-hmm.
So good.
Do you have a
Anyway,
paper?
so you can find this book at Walmart or your grocery stores right now for the next couple of weeks.
Do you have a paperback copy of Take the Honey and Run?
I do.
Oh, there it
is. Next summer. So
I'm so excited.
Very cute.
I
So
can't
my
wait to
new
read that one.
mystery will
I love this.
summer. So anyway, I am so excited that Lori's here. Loved her book and so excited to talk to her. So take it away, Sharon.
For those who don't know me, my name is Sharon Wray. I have headphones on because it's Saturday and the house is filled with people and animals and all the noises. So I apologize if you'll see things in the background. Anyway, I write romantic suspense and I also write contemporary romance. Jennie and I are both in Wedding Tales. It's a collection of books about weddings and animals that stem from our source book series. And my other my current romantic suspense is Love's Last Kiss, and I also have a contemporary romance in This Is Right, which was a Valentine's Day release, which is really super fun. Anyway, enough about that. I am so excited that Lori's here, and I absolutely loved The Dangerous Friend. So I'm just going to read through her bio, and then we'll bring her in. Lori Foster is a New York Times, USA Today, and Publishers Weekly bestselling author. She has received the Romantic Times Career Achievement Award for serious romantic fantasy and for contemporary romance. Amazon's top-selling romance title for Too Much Temptation. Amazon's top 10 editors' picks in romance for Causing Havoc. Walden Books' second best-selling original contemporary romance for Say No to Joe. BGI Group's best-selling original contemporary romance for The Secret Life of Brian. Best-selling romantic comedy for Jude's Law. Best-selling romantic suspense for Back in Black. Plus Amazon #1 editor's pick in romance for Servant, The Acceptance. Lori's been featured as a clue in the New York Times Crossword Puzzle and USA Today Quick Cross Puzzle. To give back to the community, Lori does an annual benefit book where all advance and royalties go to charity. And we'll be talking about that later in the live stream. She also hosts the annual reader and author get together, which all four of us are going to one day. We have promised each other. Gonna get our acts together. Facilitating major interaction between readers, authors, and industry professionals while also donating all proceeds from raffles to local charities. You can find out more about Lori's books at her website, lorifoster.com. And she also has a very, very active Facebook group on Facebook, which is worth checking out. Hi, Lori.
Hi, Lori.
Welcome.
Thank you for coming today. I know you're sitting in a car.
Thank you for
McDonald's.
The wind is literally rocking the car. So if it does this, it's not me. It's the wind blowing the car. It's really windy.
Oh,
That's
wow.
crazy.
Well, thank you for coming.
Yeah, we're
I'm
under a
glad
high
you did.
wind warning. So Lori and I are in the state.
And your electricity's out at your house, Lori, is that right?
Yeah, the electricity's out. So that's why we had to come up by Walmart to pick up their Wi-Fi so that I could.
Wow.
I know. I'm sitting. I hope nobody pulls up to see what I'm doing here. So that would be odd.
That would add an exciting thing to our live stream. Have a police officer come knock on the window.
Right. I just introduced you guys. That's all.
Perfect.
The readers are all saying hi right now. They're so excited that you made it too.
And well, we're here. So, windy, but we're here. So.
Yeah.
Well, you know
we are
what?
so
We
excited so many
loved-
people are joining us.
I know. I'm managing the comments. And for those people of you in the comments, sometimes we can't see you. So if we say Facebook user, it's because we can't see your name from whatever platform we're looking at. So we apologize in advance for that. Okay. Oh, just a lot of happy to be here. So that makes me so happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay.
So
Lori?
I loved this book, and I love the
loved it.
connection with the McKenzies series. I love that Jody got her own story.
Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah. Yeah, she was one of those characters. She sort of, she was supposed to be in it and back out of it, but she stuck with me. She wouldn't go away. And so I had to start thinking about her story. And, she had such a tragic background, and she really just wanted to be an everyday person like everyone else. So we tried to give her that. But she was never going to be just an average person. Wow, this car's rocking. Okay.
Oh my
sorry.
gosh.
I know.
And I love that
I
about
feel
her
like I'm doing
everyday
this,
life.
but it's not me. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh boy. Well, if you feel like you're in any danger, just let us know, and we'll figure it out. Yeah.
No, I just don't want you guys to think I'm so old I can't hold this phone still, because it's really not me. I mean, I am old, but I'm not quite that bad yet. So
I think we're all the same age, Lori. So
no, you guys are not as old as me. I'm old, but that's okay.
So
Still
tell
here.
us about that, the reason and the thought process behind kind of bridging off into this new Osborne brothers versus kind of sticking with the McKenzies. How did that all come about?
Well, so it's twofold. For one thing, I wanted Jody really wanted to stand on her own. So she's the lead female character, and she really didn't want to keep relying on the McKenzies for everything. She really wanted to branch out on her own and just sort of go her own way and prove that she could have full independence. And also, on a business sense, publishers these days really like to do 2 or 3 books, not a longer series, because it just gets harder for the readers to keep up. And a lot of readers will tell me if they're going to read the 4th book in a series, they want them to come out more closely together than what I can write them. They don't want to wait 5-6 months between books. So this way, each new grouping stands alone. So you don't have to have read the McKenzies to understand the Osborne brothers, and you won't have to have read the Osborne brothers to understand the next one that's coming up that'll be loosely linked in. So just trying to make it a little easier for readers and give the characters a fresh start. I get bored very easily. So, I did Men of Honor, and then that branched off into Love Undercover, and then that branched off into the Ultimate series, and then that branched off into the Body Armor series. And I was so over all those people by the time I got done, because there were so many of them, and I was stuck in that one little town. And so I thought, no, it's time to make it easier on myself. So
is it easier?
It is for me to start fresh. When you're doing a long series like that, you have to remember everything about the town, everything about all those people, where if I just sort of say, well, these 2 are from that group, but I'm going to take them and plop them over here, and they can talk to these people a little bit, but they're not going to every day be interacting with them. It makes it easier for me not to have to, because readers are eagle eyes. If you get one thing wrong, they'll notice and they'll tell you, rightfully so, but it makes it a lot easier to keep track.
So do you have a way to keep track?
So I keep a typed up character sheet on my computer, but I also have a handwritten one. Maybe it's my age, but if I write it down, I tend to remember it. And if I type it up, sometimes I don't. Does that seem odd? I don't know. There's like a connection between my brain and my hand. So if I write it down, I'll remember it. But then I also type it up, because then, months later when I'm writing another book, I've got it fresh there on a clean typed up sheet that I can refer to.
I have that same thing with Credence, with the town of Credence, where I started out with the 3 hockey playing cowboys, bridged to the horse rescue. And in the 10th book in Credence, I just was like sneaking all the way back and grabbing people from the very beginning book, because it was like, oh, this is kind of fun. Let's go grab those people and bring them back. But
well, I noticed in the one of yours that I read, that there were characters who probably already had books, and there were characters who I thought probably would have books, right? So you kind of pick up on that as a reader, which I very much, I don't remember the title. I apologize. I was trying to remember my own titles, but it was a fun book. I really enjoyed it. What was
the one that you read of mine? I think it was this one. The Every Bit of Cowboy.
Yes,
sorry.
I think that was it. Yeah. It's so tiny. I can barely see you.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm on my phone, so you guys are like this big.
It was the hairdresser and the
hairdresser, right? Yeah. And the goat that tried to eat her shirt. Yeah, all that. That was super fun.
Oh, Lori, that was so sweet of you to read my book. Thank you.
Lori,
I enjoyed it. Thank you.
When one of your books comes out, is it hard to remember what it was about, since you wrote it well over a year before the book actually comes out? And you've written so many in between each book release. You've already written 4 or 5 more books.
Yeah, you know what I find hard is I'll think of a funny bit of dialogue, and I'll think, oh, did I already use that? Was that in a different book? Did Jody say that? Did Hunter say that? Was that Emily? Was that Saul? So then I have to kind of do a little search and figure out if are these the same characters talking to me or new characters talking to me. So that part's a little bit hard. When the book comes out, we start talking about it, so it sort of comes back. But yeah, a lot of times readers will mention a scene or something, and I'm thinking, I don't remember that, so I have to go back and look. Because as you said, after the Dangerous one, I wrote the Little Flower Shop, and then I wrote Bray, and then I wrote a novella for Kensington. So yeah, there's been quite a few books between there that you invest in, and then you just sort of move on from the one you were writing.
Yeah, I think that's something that maybe readers don't realize, is that when we write a book, sometimes with the publisher, it takes almost a year before it comes out. And then because you've got this little, series of the 3, do they hold it even longer to wait to see if you get the next one to put your releases closer together?
It does. Who hold it longer?
The publisher. Will they hold it even longer to try to smash the releases together on the Osborne brothers?
Well, they usually tell me well in advance what my schedule will be. Like I knew in 2022, I knew what my schedule would be in 2023 and 2024. So I have an idea of when things will be out. Sometimes they tweak it a little bit, but it's generally around the same time. But yeah, it's generally spread out because I need it's funny because readers read them so quickly, but I need a few months to write them, and I'm sure you guys do too. You need a little more time to write than it takes them to read. So.
Yeah,
Did you write this book in 2 months? Did you write this book in 2 months?
Usually about 2.5, sometimes 3, depending on what's going on in life. Short books, much, like a novella for Kensington, I think I wrote in about a month. But, when you get to a bigger book, it sometimes takes me 2.5, 3 months.
That's
but not
funny.
always.
We put all that work in, 2 months of writing, and they'll read it in 8 hours.
I know. They're like, I stayed up all night and finished it.
It makes you feel so good that they did, but it's like, man, that was a lot of work for just 8 hours of reading.
And they're like, when's the next one? Why is it so far off? And I'm like, I'm still writing it, so. But that's a good problem to have. That's a very good problem.
Yes, it is. It is.
So, Lori, do you plan, are you a plotter where you plan out what you're going to write? Are you more of a pantser where you like to just sort of be seat of your pants write? How are you?
I'm very much a seat of my pants writer. So I generally, like when I was writing The Dangerous One, I knew Memphis was going to have a story. So as I was writing The Dangerous One, and my editor had already picked out the title, The Fearless One, for the next one. Oh. So I already kind of knew what would happen in Memphis' story. It wasn't really plotting it so much as Memphis was talking to me as I was writing Hunter's story. I mean, you guys are probably the same. You probably have other characters start talking to you at the same time. Mm-hmm. So, you start getting an idea. But as far as actually how it's going to go, you have that vague idea, but they just sort of tell you. There's a character in The Dangerous One who I thought was going to be the bad guy. Mm-hmm. And then he told me, no, he wasn't. He was just misunderstood. So
I love that.
So will he have his book?
I want to, yeah.
Will Remy have a book then?
Yeah, will Remy have a book?
Yes. So
that's
good.
Yay!
So yeah, Remy will have his own book, but yeah, he was just supposed to be a bad guy, but he didn't just stay a bad guy. So as I was writing it, he was kind of going about his own business, doing his own thing. And I'm like, that's not what I was thinking was going to happen, but okay, we'll go with it. So it's always easier for me just to roll with when they want to do something. Mm-hmm. I cannot fight a character. Mm-hmm. If they're determined to go a certain way, it's easier for me just to let them and see what they have in mind.
Well, one of our commenters said, can't wait for Memphis. Your breadcrumbs are too tempting.
Oh, good. What a nice comment. I like that.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
And we do have a few reader questions. Lecha Haney asked, who has been your hardest character to write about and why?
Hardest character to write about? There's been a couple. So ages ago, I wrote When Bruce Met Sin, and it was a preacher prostitute story. And Sin, her name's Cynthia, through no fault of her own, she had a terrible background, and she turned to prostitution for a short time. And she was a heartbreaker, man. I cried half the time I was writing her story. Wow. And she was so well received by readers, but there was one reader who, she said the preacher deserved better than her. And it just broke my heart. I thought, this poor woman, she'd been through hell, and did what she had to do to survive and then came out the other side. So you don't see any of her in prostitution. It's just that once she's done and she says, I have enough money, I'm going to start a new life. That's where the book starts. So yeah, she was a tearjerker. And usually it's when I'm writing the people that had a rough childhood, that will always break my heart a little bit, because I know it happens. So. Yeah.
So do you love putting them in conflict? Like I just hate conflict so much in my own life. It's so hard for me to. You just love that. Do you just think, how can I torture them some more?
I don't. It's just, I know there are so many tortured people out there. I know I am so fortunate because I've never been tortured. So, my life's been fairly golden. So I just know there's so many people that are going through so many things, and you think, with love, they can conquer that, if they've got the right person backing them up. So I think that's the aspect that draws me, is that no matter what, if they've got, everybody needs backup. Everybody needs a support system. Not everybody has it. So when I can come up with that, that's just, to me, is I feel really good for the characters. And everybody's torture is individual. So there could be a character who just had a lousy marriage and that was her torture for her. And then there can be someone like Jody who literally had, just the hardest life imaginable. You can't compare those two things because for each person, it's whatever hell they're going through, so.
Yeah.
And I love that about your stories, that there's a lot of gray area. I love that about Remy, and I love that about Jody, how she wasn't just her injury. She was a lot more than her injury. So as hard as those characters are to write, you really do a good job of, it's not just this one aspect, it's, multi-layered aspect of character.
Well, thank you. I feel like that's true with people. We see so many people, we hear it all the time. Well, their parents gave them a bad example. It's kind of a cop-out because there can be bad parents and one child will see it and be determined to do differently, and another child uses it as an excuse and just does the same thing. So people are complex, they're individual. I think grandparents can make a difference. I think a neighbor can make a difference, a teacher, someone that just shows someone another way to go. And not everybody has that. So, I think my mother used to say, there but for the grace of God, which I always thought was true because anybody can find themselves in a horrible situation. We've just been fortunate when we're not, so I think I feel very fortunate. And you guys all look like, what was it? She was sitting in her wonderful house with her background. So, we're all very fortunate. That's an inside joke. That was going to change the background. Yeah.
Yes, I was changing the virtual background. That was a pretend house. I do not have a baby grand piano. I'm actually sitting. Yeah, I'm sitting in the guest room because it's the only place that doesn't have clutter behind me right now.
Yeah.
I
had my house all ready to go. It was all polished up, and then the power went out. And I thought, I got to sit in a messy car. Oh well, we're here.
Here's a question from a longtime reader, and she says, Lori, do you have a favorite series from all of your books or favorite main character?
So again, there's always a few main characters. I loved Mick from Caught in the Act. He was a broken wing hero, and he found his person, and life got better for him. So I liked him because he had so much heart. I also liked Sam in My House, My Rules. That's a novella. But Sam was so over the top sexist that I just thought it was hilarious, and I enjoyed writing him. And he really is sexist. He's terrible, but he's loads of fun, and he has a big heart too. More recently, let's see here. I don't even know who I've written recently. What have I written recently? Golly, I'm drawn away. Oh, McKenzie. So Reyes from the McKenzie series, Stronger Than You Know. He was awesome because he was sort of the cocky younger brother that always felt like he had to show off and be loud just to be different from his very controlled older brother who was in No Holding Back. This is why I can't remember anybody else's titles because I have so many. It's hard for me to remember my own. But Reyes was fun just because he was so confident in what he could do and how he could do it, and that he would do it. And there was no doubt that it would happen the way he wanted it to. So he was a lot of fun to write. Was that the question? What was the most fun, or was it something else? Okay. Yeah.
Kind of all of the above. So sure. That's great.
I couldn't remember if it was like the saddest hero or the one that was most fun. I think
just your favorite. One of your favorites. Yeah.
They're all favorites as you're writing them.
Favorite series, like of all of the separate series that you've written. Do you have a favorite series?
So I really liked the Road to Love series, and I haven't heard readers. They did well, but I haven't heard a lot from readers about it, like wanting to go back to that series. But that was so much fun for me. They were like, they were drivers for people who had weird collections. and they all drove Mustangs. And that was just a lot. Brody was a hoot. I just loved writing Brody. He was awesome. So that was one of my favorite series to write. I just felt like I buzzed right through that writing it. So, but maybe it wasn't a reader favorite. Readers almost always tell me When You Dare was their favorite. And I think it's just that awesome cover for Dare that won them over.
That was a great cover.
It was a good cover. Yeah. And they haven't given me any more like that since then. That was a good cover.
So who do you like to read, Lori? Like who's your go-to author that you're auto buy whenever they have a book coming out?
Well, Lisa Kleypas, is that how you say her last name, Kleypas?
I think so.
Darn her if she would write more historicals, because I read every single historical romance she had. I burned through them all too quickly. I'm a big historical reader, so I venture out of historical sometimes just for fun, but that's my favorite go-to. I also like Elizabeth Hoyt and Kerrigan Byrne, and Vivian LeRae just had one out that I read and loved. I also really like TJ Logan. She writes romantic suspense, and those are really good. I really enjoy her romantic suspense stories. So
do you
and then
have
I
a
just
hard
read some cowboys. I read your cowboy book, and I read a Maisie Yates cowboy book. Those were loads of fun.
Yeah.
So
I love that you stepped out of your favorite genre space
to read like the cowboy books and stuff.
Cowboys, yeah.
Well, I do that with some different ones. So a lot of times I'll get asked to read for a quote. I always enjoy the books. I don't think I've ever read a book I haven't enjoyed. Well, I probably wouldn't finish reading it if I didn't enjoy it. But because my reading time is valuable. So if I'm not loving a book, I'm putting it aside. But I just think historical romance is such a step away from what I write. It's such an escape. So it makes a difference, I think.
That's interesting that you said that about not reading a book if it doesn't grab you, because we had a poll question about that in our reader group, and I was surprised by the number of readers who are like, "Oh, absolutely, I finish." I mean, yeah. I just like, oh, okay. So yeah. So a lot of people are determined, like, it's a badge of honor. I'm going to finish this book.
And it's funny because
readers, if you don't like my book, don't finish it, because then you'll just write a review that's going to make me unhappy. Which readers have every right to do,
Right.
But if you're not liking my books, don't feel like you got to finish it.
Well, it's funny,
what's not to like?
I've heard readers say, like, I keep hoping it's going to get better. And it's like,
yeah, I know.
It's nice that you're giving a chance, so.
Well, I'll do that like past maybe the first chapter, but then if I'm not invested enough, sometimes there'll just be like one little thing that keeps you caught. You just want to see how that's going to go, but if it's not, my reading time's valuable. I don't have enough free time. So if I'm not enjoying it, I'm putting it down.
And if you don't like the couple, I feel like the couple really has to grab you, and all of your couples do. Actually, I wonder, do you have a way to approach creating a couple? Do they just come naturally, or do you just think, oh, I want these to be opposite, of each other? Or
I could never teach this stuff because I have no idea. I basically sit down to write, and I just write whatever's coming to mind, and every so often you got to stop and think about it and backtrack just a little bit. But yeah, generally I just, I don't know. I have no idea. A situation happens. Most of my books start with a situation. It's either a verbal conflict, or they've got a past that they have to get over, or something, and that's just where the book starts. And then the characters just take over and they just do whatever they want to do. I just get it on paper.
That's awesome.
And do you have a sounding board, like some favorite author friends, or like when I get stuck, I just call up Sharon and I'm like, I need help. I don't know what's supposed to happen next. Do you just ask Alan, give me some ideas, bud?
Alan's laughing. He's my driver today. So he just started laughing at that because he knows I don't. I'll ask Alan questions like, I'll say, she has to get this guy's going to steal a car and he needs to change out the license plate. Do you just take a license plate, or do you have to do the front and the back, or could he just stick it in the window? Because I don't know anything about any of that stuff. Yeah. Honest to God, I write and Alan does everything else. I mean, it's just, I used to be like a really, really active, well, I'm still an active mom, but they're grown kids now, so they take care of themselves. But I used to be like the room mom at the school, and I cooked dinner every night. And I was the one that cleaned the house because he was out working. And now, I'm just always at my desk writing, and he does everything else. So that's him right there. So I don't know if you guys could see.
Alan.
Alan's sitting there just grinning. He told me, he said, "Don't talk about me," and I always end up talking about him. But
We love you, Alan.
we're in this together. So it was so weird because I had a dream last night that this is so off the wall. I was stressed about something, and I had a dream that I was trying to do a live video, and he kept trying to turn the screen so he could see it. And I kept saying, "If you turn the screen, they can't see me." And then he just took it. and then in my dream, he decided to take off his jogging pants, and he's got bad knees, and ice his knees, but he was in his boxers. I'm like, people can see you in your boxers. And when I told him about this, I said, "I swear you're not the one stressing me. I don't know why you were stressing me in my dream." So as we were driving up here, he's like, "This was a premonition, isn't it?" He said, "I'm going to be in the car." And he said, "I'm going to get out to get a drink, and you're going to hear the car door opening and closing or something." I'm like, "I don't know. I don't know if it was a premonition or not, but
he's got pants on, so that's
he's got pants on.
Yeah.
He's wearing
It's not that kind
pants.
of video. It's not that kind of live video, Alan.
They may come off at some point.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
He said, "Stay tuned. They may come off at some point," but I don't think so, because we're in McDonald's parking lot. So yeah, it was a weird dream. I don't know.
Lori, can you tell us about your next rescue book, the book that for the animal rescue shelter?
So it's titled Bray. It'll be out June 1st. So if anyone, it's really weird how I've done this, and I apologize for the confusion of it. So I wrote Marcus last year, and Marcus had been tied to the Love Undercover series, and Bray is sort of tied to the Ultimate series. Marcus, you met him in Getting Rowdy. Bray, you met in Fighting Dirty, but now they're bro friends, so there's 2 more guys, there's 4 friends. So it's like, it's connected here, it's connected there, it's connected here, but it won't be that confusing in the books. But Army does make a little appearance in Bray's book. So Army pops in and says hi and does what Army does best. But that advance and all the royalties from that book go to a local no-kill animal shelter, the Animal Adoption Foundation. And that book is digital, but at my annual event, I'll have a limited number of print copies there that I'll sell. There'll be $5 each for the print copies. And all of that money also goes to the Animal Adoption Foundation.
I love those books.
Fantastic.
They're all so wonderful. They're my favorite book of the year when they come out.
Thank you.
But you actually have a book out in May before Bray comes out, right? The Little Flower Shop?
The Little Flower Shop. Does this not get confusing? So the Little Flower Shop is set in the same town as the Honeymoon Cottage. So the Honeymoon Cottage is in this weird little quirky town called Cemetery, Indiana. And it's not morbid. The founder of the town was a cemetery. No ghosts, no. But Betty Cemetery is the descendant of the person who founded the town. Betty Cemetery is the matriarch and won't let anybody change the name. So it's called Cemetery, but it's a happy place to be. And the Honeymoon Cottage was there. The characters that were in the Honeymoon Cottage are not in the Little Flower Shop, but it's the same town. So again, you don't have to have read the first book to read the second.
And is it like a women's fiction?
It's women's fiction, but still with romance. I can't, even when I wrote my urban fantasy books, you mentioned Servant when you were going over my bio, I still end up with romance in it. To me, that's just the happy spot. You want romance. So I have romance and everything.
Is it hard for you not to add some suspense to your women's fiction?
Oh, I just want to shoot people when I'm thinking if this was a mass market, he would have already shot somebody. Or punched them or something, so I like writing those books the most. That's my wheelhouse, where I have the most fun, where the guys are over the top alpha. And, if you've ever watched any of the Jason Statham movies and he takes on 10 people, that's the guys I like to write, that can just plow through people. So that's my favorites, but I really enjoy the trade books, writing those also. I enjoy writing everything I write, or I wouldn't write it,
Right. Are you looking forward to your big reader event this year?
I am. It's a little different this year. So for once, we did not sell out right away. We actually have some reader spots left. So many people told me that they just couldn't afford it this year. Inflation is really, really bad right now. And even though I think we're one of the cheapest conferences around, I think we are the cheapest conference around, and you get so much bang for your buck. But, it's just tough times for a lot of people. So if there's any readers that want to attend, we still have a few spots left. We have Christine Feehan will be there, Sylvia Day, Nancy Nagel, Carolyn Brown.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, we have enough. We have enough people, but we do have some spots open. I think we have 48 authors total, and, we'll have around 400 people, and we usually have 450. So we're a little bit shy this year. But so we start on Wednesday. There's a Wednesday party, like an early bird party, because a lot of people come in early. Then there's a Thursday welcome party, a Friday party, and a Saturday party. We also have breakout boardroom sessions Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We have huge raffles. Last year we were able to donate. We don't profit from it at all. So all the money from the raffle went to cancer-free kids. That was how much, Alan?
43,000 or 6 meals included.
So he said 43,000. It was 44,000. I can't remember exactly, but it was over $40,000 that we earned from the raffles that we were able to give to cancer-free kids, which is a research place to try to find gentler treatments for children with cancer. And sold the benefit book. So all those proceeds went to the animal shelter. On Friday and Saturday, all your meals are included. Excuse me. It's just a huge, really good time. And for readers, it's like $130. So plus you got to rent your hotel room. Yeah, it's a good time. It's a really good time. 2 big book signings. So I can't
organize all of that. Yeah.
This is the year you guys should come, because we have reader spots open. You could just come as readers and have fun and see how it runs.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like a ball. Idea.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how you keep everything so organized, Lori. I'm in awe of you. And then writing every day.
I have a really awesome assistant who helped out a ton this year, because it's been a chaotic, tumultuous year. I have a few health issues, so I was dealing with that. Mm-hmm. And you wouldn't know it, but I have lung issues. I know I can still talk a lot, but I do have lung issues. And so I have treatments I have to do now for that twice a day. That is a pain in the patoot, because I'm stuck doing, it's a half hour each time that I have to do this lung treatment. So it shouldn't be the problem that it is, but I'm grateful that they have those treatments that are helping, but it just feels like it throws me off a lot. And because I have to time it, it has to be 12 hours apart. And so I've had this awesome assistant who's just really been a helper this year.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, thank goodness. Sorry, Alan offered me a drink and I took it.
Yeah. So Lori,
we love Rachel too.
When is Memphis's book coming out?
Memphis's book comes out. This is the weirdest date ever, but it's December 26th. So it's not a Christmas book. That's why it's one day after Christmas. But I don't know. It's an odd date that they gave me, publisher. It's weird because people don't understand, if you're traditionally published, it's the publisher's decisions. Mm-hmm. So I had a lot of readers ask me about the book, and I said, it's done. It's turned in. I turned it in January, I think. And they were like, well, why do you have to wait till December? Because I'm traditionally published, and that's when they're scheduling it. So we had the Dangerous one in January, and then the Little Flower Shop in May, the Benefit book in June, and then another mass market in December. So they spaced them out a little bit for me. I apologize. I opened the window to let some air in, and a guy with a loud motorcycle is driving right by.
This is just no problem don't know what you're gonna get with this live stream. We're just shaking it all up.
Yeah. Lori, I know Memphis, but was there, in the Dangerous one, did you hint at all about who the heroine was going to be, about who his great
and Memphis's book?
Well, in the Dangerous one, is there any Easter egg you left us so we know who he's going to fall in love with?
No, not at all. So Memphis in the dangerous one, he mentions that he bought an RV park that's nearby.
Right.
He goes there and he meets her. She shows up early and just sort of refuses to leave. And when he tries to tell her to leave, she literally pitches a tent and sets up and won't go because she needs to be there for reasons of her own. So he tries to say, I'm not hiring you. You don't fit the job. You just need to go. And instead she pitches a tent and stays there, and he doesn't know quite what to do about it. I mean, he figures out what to do about it, but at first. So yeah, she was fun. I liked writing her just kind of showing up and, staying regardless of what Memphis said.
I can't wait.
I can't wait to read that. And Lori, what do you?
It was a load of fun.
What do you write? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
We need to schedule her in January so we can
I know.
I know.
So is there just 2 books for this one, or with Remy, is it a 3-book?
So there's 2. It'll be the Osborne brothers, but because Remy's not an Osborne brother, he'll start a new little series. So I don't want to tell you too many, but I already know what's going to go on with Remy and the other book that'll go with Remy. It's like it just popped into my head what that'll be. So, but I think with Remy, I think he's going to be titled. We had the dangerous one and the fearless one. I think Remy will be the only one. So,
I love that.
I just loved Remy. I loved him so much when I wrote him. I adored him. I liked that
wonderful.
He saw
I loved him
Jody
too.
right away. He really recognized right off that she was special.
Mm-hmm.
Lori, is that?
And he has those protective instincts that I just swoon.
That Lori does so well. I know.
Yeah.
Lori, is that the book you're writing right now, or what? If not, what are you writing right now?
So after I finished the dangerous one, I already wrote the fearless one and turned it in, and then I wrote the benefit book and turned it in, which is Bray. And then there's a Kensington novella that'll be out in 2024. It'll be another one in a Fern Michaels anthology, which I am so flattered to be in something with Fern Michaels. And so I already turned that in. And so now I'm working on, I think it's going to be called The Wishing Well. That'll go with the honeymoon cottage and the little flower shop. And then I think it'll be The Wishing Well. So many books to keep track of.
Are you contracted out through like 2025 right now? Like, do you know how far
No,
out
so
do you know?
actually I'm going to plug my phone in real quick because the battery's getting low. But the book I'm writing right now is actually the last contracted book. So we're talking about contracts right now. The last contract I had signed was for 2 mass market, 3 trade books, and 2 benefit books. So it was a big contract that I was going through. So I'm just now kind of getting to the end of that.
Okay. That's exciting.
It's so fun to hear. Like it's just so fun to hear about all of your process and all the things and keeping track of all the little pieces together. I just love it.
I'm not a mathematical person at all. I mean, I'm kind of got that right side creative brain. And when you do a big contract like that, they want to know. So the way they break a contract down is you get paid in, it used to be in thirds, right? So it used to be when you signed the contract, you got a third. When you gave a proposal, which for me is just, a few paragraphs, you got a third. And when you turn the book in, you got a third. Now it's in fourths. So, which is just kind of the standard. So it's those 3 I mentioned, and then you get the 4th when the book is published. So, I mean, I signed, what was it? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8 book contract. 7. My husband said 7. And then I had the Kensington novellas that I signed for. And so I had to break all those down on a grid to say when I could turn each thing in mathematically. And so I went into Alan and I said, I need this much time for each one of these. Break this down for me. And then I'll kind of look at it and try to comprehend it when you're done so that I can tell because, once you sign it, then the agent says, I need to be able to give them dates. And I'm like, I don't know, whenever I get it done. So we had to do this huge, for me, it has to be written down. So we had to get it all on paper so I could see what I had to do and when I could get it turned in. And, you try to factor in at least one vacation with your husband who's patiently sitting here by me. So it's like, figure out when I can get this stuff turned in. It was wild.
So are you a digital or a paper calendar? Do you have a paper calendar or are you all digital now?
No, I'm not digital at all. So I have a big desk calendar that sits on my desk that I can write on. If it's like a doctor's appointment, I'll click to add it to my phone also. So it'll, ding for me. But it has to be written on that big calendar so I can glance at it very quickly and just see what's coming up and when. And, you got medical appointments, dental appointments, this, stuff like this, other promo things, books due, books out, vacations, and it gets crazy. So I have to be able to see it on a big calendar.
Do you try not to have books due like around the holidays? Like from Thanksgiving to Christmas?
See, Alan just laughed because no matter what I try, somehow I always have a book due right before Christmas.
It's always the same.
Yeah, he said it's always the same. It doesn't matter how I try to finagle it. It always ends up. I mean, when you sign a big contract like that, it's hard not to have something that's due right around the holidays. It's just almost impossible. So, we just juggle the best we can. And sometimes I work a lot longer. Sometimes I have a day where I don't work at all. And, you just make it happen. I'm a creative person, but I also like to think I'm a business person. So I know if I sign a contract that I say I'm going to have something done on a certain time, I want to have it done on that time. I don't want to miss deadlines. There's a big joke in the industry where people say, deadlines are just a suggestion. Well, they're really not, because publishers plan on those, and they plan covers and promotion and everything around when you're going to turn a book in. And so I try to be, when I was in a wreck in, 2020, a guy T-boned me and I broke my shoulder and wrist. Oh my goodness, that put me so far behind. And I didn't think I didn't get caught up. I missed an entire deadline, but my publisher was great about it. As soon as we had the wreck, I got hold of him and I said, I have a broken wrist and shoulder. I know I'm not going to make this deadline. So I'm just letting you know now. And they were very nice. And they said, we'll shuffle everything. And it was a rough year for me because I'm so used to having so many books out. And then that next year I had like one new book because I had missed, those deadlines. But I mean, I couldn't write. I don't know if you guys can do the voice thing. I cannot. I'm such a hillbilly, and, I say can instead of can. And, I shorten all my thems to m's. And when you're trying to talk to a voice thing, it just gets really confused as to what I'm trying to say.
Doesn't understand me either. So,
Hey, Lori.
I see the scene in my head like a movie, and so then I'll just get my phone and I'll send an email to myself and I'll just talk it all out. And then it takes a long time to clean it up, but I do that because I just blurt it all out as fast as I can. So,
hey, Lori,
I'll do that with dialogue that pops to me. Like sometimes you're in the bathtub. I'm a big bath person. That's where I do most of my reading. When my kids were younger, somebody would call to talk to me and Alan would say she's in the bathtub. They'd call back an hour later and he'd say she's still in the bathtub. But just because you had 3 kids, that was my getaway time. You could close the door and say, go bother that other parent because I'm in the bathtub. So I just got in the habit of reading in the bathtub. So I'll do that with my phone. If I think of some really good dialogue, oh, he should say that, I'll message it myself. And there are so many other Lori Fosters, and I'm always afraid I'm going to send some other Lori Foster some weird tidbit of dialogue that will make no sense whatsoever, So I'm always trying to double check, make sure I send it to myself, not someone else.
Lori, I have to confess, I'm a bath person too, and I now even write in the tub. Like that's one. It's one of my favorite places to write. I write in the tub every evening with my laptop.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah.
So I'm totally one of those trays that go across your bath.
No, I like balanced it on my stomach. And
oh my gosh! I'm terrified just hearing that.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding you. I do. I've written that way for years. Like,
and it doesn't get wet.
No, although I am afraid I'm going to accidentally drop it in the water one of these days. But
you need to have just a wireless keyboard that you put in there. Your laptop.
So, Lori, I was wanting to ask you, how many books total have you written?
What?
130, I would guess.
Alan said he thinks 130. See, I'm not a math person.
Wow.
So Harlequin, when they had, I think it was a year or so ago, I had 75 Harlequin books, but then I wrote for Berkeley and Kensington quite a bit also before I started at Harlequin. And then I left and went to, I don't know, Berkeley or Kensington. I don't remember which one. I guess it was Berkeley. And then I went to Kensington for a long time. Loved Berkeley and Kensington both. And then ended up back at Harlequin writing single titles for them. And so I have to add up from different publishers, the books. But yeah, I think it's probably between 125, 130, something like that.
Wow.
And what year were you first published? Do you remember?
And I just have to look at it. He said he's the numbers guy. He said it came out in 96. So long time ago. I think I turned it in like 95, and then it
was the Christmas of 95, but it was a 96 release.
It was a 96 release.
Oh,
He's breaking it down for me. I don't remember any of that. I just remember how hard it was to sell that first book. Mm-hmm. And now my heart breaks for new writers because it's 1,000 times harder now than it was back then. Yeah. I understand why so many, and I'm so glad that they have that option for indie publishing, because it is just really, really hard right now,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
for sure. So do you still have certain scenes that, after writing so long, do you still have certain scenes when you're writing that you're just like, oh, this is it. This is my favorite scene of this book?
I do that with every book, probably. There's a scene that I just, you'll be trying to sleep, and instead the scene is kicking around in your head, and because it's just going to work out the way you want it to. So yeah, I always have one that comes to me that makes me want to get up from bed and go write it. There's always one.
Wow. Yes. So what was it for the dangerous one?
I think the scene, well, there were several in that book that I really, really liked, but I think the scene where Jody shows back up at his house after she'd kind of flipped out on him, and he didn't want to let her back in because he had just woke up and he wasn't quite awake yet. She just
I love that.
I love that scene.
Pushes her way in and, insists that she's going to come in because they need to talk. And I don't know. I just liked Jody so much. She was very true to herself, but she knew her limits, and she knew that she had hangups, and she's trying to work through them. So the girl had guts.
I have to give a shout out to Turbo. Turbo is amazing.
Turbo, the dog with the really weird bark, broken bark there. Yeah.
What was the story with that?
He was just a load of fun. So I always ask on my Facebook page. One of you had said I had a really active Facebook page. And so I'll always ask readers, has anybody got a dog suggestion? Anyone have a cat suggestion? And this one woman had shared her Basset Beagle Hound, whatever he was. I think the dog's name was Betty, but I wanted it to be a male dog because I already decided I wanted to name this dog Turbo. I just like that name. I wanted it to be a big lead bottom dog that didn't move very fast, but name him Turbo. So she gave me a lot of insight into the Basset Hound, how the dog was. And another reader had contributed and said that her dog didn't bark, it quacked. And so I sort of just combined those things for Turbo, because he had that weird barker. And I always, there are so many celebrities and things that I really enjoy, or comedians that I think are funny, and they all have designer pets. And I'm like, go to a shelter. There are so many people are breeding dogs when there are so many homeless dogs to get. And they're as good as your designer pet, probably better. I mean, I thought Turbo was better, Yeah. So, I always try to use a dog that has some issues or a cat that has some issues. The book I'm writing right now, the dog is a rescue dog, but he rescues people that don't need to be rescued. So he just thinks people are in trouble and he'll go try and help them. I have a cat that's a kleptomaniac. The cat keeps stealing the hero's stuff and bringing it to the woman who doesn't want to be involved with him, but the cat keeps bringing his stuff to her. So she has to get involved with him. So I like these weird animals that some people probably wouldn't adopt because they're problematic, but they're fun. One of our cats.
Have you ever written
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just wondering if you've ever written a parrot, because my aunt has the most hysterical parrot, and I just think they're so much fun.
My sister-in-law and brother-in-law have a parrot. Is it a parrot? Some kind of a big bird that talks and does fun things, but it's so moody.
It's macaw.
Macaw, maybe. It's so moody that I'm afraid, they live so long too that I worry that, you know, it would have to be, they would have to have someone lined up to take this bird after they go, because I understand these birds get really depressed when they lose their people, you know, so
Aw.
I haven't written a bird yet. No, I haven't done that. I always worry about
I
that.
love that you think about that.
I do
The
too.
fictional
I do too.
animals. I worry about my fictional animals.
So we have a parakeet, and our parakeet is like 11 years old. Like a parakeet is like 11
really?
years old. We've had it
Yeah.
forever. Yeah.
Yeah.
My
It's so
sister's
funny.
parakeet was 18 years old when it died.
Oh
A
my god.
parakeet.
Wow.
Yeah, it's the cutest
Wow.
little parakeet. So Lori, what about your pets at your house?
So
Do you have pets at your house too?
we have too many pets. Yeah. So we have 2 white cats that are brothers. Rumbles is too chubby, but I don't know what he's eating. I think he's eating things outside, because they all used to be feral cats. So there's no keeping them in. And the vet said, just quit trying, let them out. They'll come back. And they always do. And they hang out on they come and go as they please. They think Alan and I are at their beck and call. If one of them wants in when I'm at my desk, they get in my window and stare at me till I get up and let them back in, which of course I do. And then they went right back out, and then they went in again. And we never have all the cats on one side of the door or the other. One goes out, one comes in, one comes in, one goes out. As soon as you let one out, the other one gets up and walks over and says, well, now I want out. So, you're always jumping with them. So Rumbles is our chubby cat. When we adopted him, he had gotten bit in the tail. So he doesn't have a tail. They had to amputate his tail, which
Aww.
Rumbles but he never cared. It was the weirdest thing. He was like, oh, you took off my tail? I don't care. He just, he didn't seem to mind it at all. Frosty is one, if you look at him funny, he drops fur. I mean, he is the most spastic cat. He's so afraid of everything. Beautiful. He's a white cat with big blue eyes. As much as Rumbles is an ass kicker, Frosty is a big old coward. And then Happy Cat is the most annoying cat in God's creation. He wants you to pet him. He wants you to pet him hard and constantly. So it's got to be like, pet, pet, pet. And if you try to stop, then he bites you. I'm like, oh, you are dumb.
Yeah. Yeah. My son has a golden retriever like that.
They're so
Very
aggravating. It's like,
demanding. Yeah.
yes. You're lucky we
Well, this
gave
was-
you Happy Cat.
We have to say, this was so much fun, and time went by so quickly. You are an amazing champ for getting out in the middle of a windstorm and coming to see us in McDonald's. We really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lori.
Thanks,
Great.
Lori.
Thank you guys for
Yeah,
inviting me
thanks.
back. I appreciate it. And I'm sorry about all the confusion.
Oh,
I don't think I
you're our
was back
favorite.
yet, but
Yeah.
we just had to drive like 5 miles, and we found people with power where we could park and do this. So.
Love it.
Well, we appreciate it. Thank you so much. And
Thank you,
if
guys.
we didn't get to any of your questions, people asking questions, we'll make sure to get those over to Lori. Sorry about that. We did our best.
I'll peek in and see if
Thank you.
one of you sent me a book too, didn't you? Someone else sent me a book.
I did. I sent you a book.
I think Abbie did.
Abbie did. So I have that. I have one more I have to read for a quote, and then that's on my list. I'm looking forward to it. It's a gorgeous cover. I really like it. Is that the one you said Amazon put a thing on it? Was that you?
That was not me.
Okay,
I don't-
sorry.
Oh, okay.
Amazon didn't put
Like I said,
nothing
you
on.
guys are so teeny tiny. I can barely
thin
see you on
band.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Well,
thank you guys so much.
thank you,
I
and-
appreciate it.
Bye, Lori.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your
Bye.
Saturday. Bye.
Bye.
All right,
love
so
Lori.
yeah, she's so amazing, and I have to apologize if it seemed like I was doing something that wasn't the live stream. I had absolutely, because of the excitement of getting, we weren't sure if Lori was going to make it and all this stuff. I forgot to get ready our next book, so I was like, oh my god, I don't have this. So I was trying to do that as we were chatting.
I'm not
So,
even
but-
sure who our next one is either. So
I think you should be,
Okay.
right?
Well, I don't know.
Right? Or
Yeah. She
Oh,
should be.
yeah,
Hey, you should be.
I hope so.
Oh, it was Jenny.
Yeah, because our next, well, I thought our next read was Abbie Roads' Dangerous Dreams. And I'm super excited about it. Oh my God. Oh, good. So you had a cover. That's awesome. Well, I cannot wait to read that book. And everyone, thanks for stopping by and for being such champs and hanging with us today, even though we had some technical difficulties. So have a great weekend, everyone.
Bye.
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 Bye.